Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
Well, welcome everyone to the very first episode of the year 2023. We had hoped that 2022 would end better for Panther City, but Saskatchewan had other plans in store. This is Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast. I am once again Nicholas.
I'm once again Andy.
And once again Andy. And yeah, Happy New Year. I hope you had a good New Year's and welcomed the new year with good times. But with the new year, we were kind of hoping for a new outlook, and kind of leave 2022 behind us. I mean, it was a good start, but unfortunately the last two games didn't go our way, and Panther City went up to Saskatchewan and took on the Rush, and they were the only game that was televised on Saturday evening for New Year's Eve. So it had a good party feel to it, but even though it wasn't the NLL featured game of the week, a lot of eyes were on the game, mainly because, the team who won this game would be going into the new year with a winning record. So we'll go dive right into it. The game itself, I thought it had a really good feel to it. I thought the audience or the crowd there was pretty hyped to be there for New Year's Eve. Had a good turnout. It started out not really good in our favor. The Rush got out to a quick start, and they were ahead 3-0 before we even knew it. I think what had happened is they got a lot of, it seemed to me, like right off the bat, a lot of second chances. Damoud, honestly, I felt like Damoud was playing really good, especially right at the beginning. But eventually, those second shots just kind of kept coming back. What you got to watch the first half. What did you feel, especially at the beginning there?
Like you said, Damien had a pretty good game overall, and early on he was good. But there's only so many times a goalie wearing all those pads can recover after he's taken shot after shot on his goal. So I think we won our first face-off, if I'm not mistaken, or at least won a good amount of them.
I have that written down. We actually won a few of the face-offs at the beginning. Unfortunately, Tyler Burton was out again for this game, still injured. Hey, positives that you can look at.
Indeed.
But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, the Rush got off to a 3-0 start, but a lot of those came on second chances, and even when we got the opportunity to score, things just weren't clicking still, and so, but eventually we actually started to fight back towards the end of the first quarter, and came back and scored 2 goals, which was good for us because it helped us kind of get back in the groove of things, feel like we could get back into it pretty easily, and we ended the first quarter ahead, or not ahead, unfortunately. We were down 3-2, but first quarter went by pretty fast. I felt like the second quarter, honestly, I thought was overall our best quarter. Not just because of the highlight plays that happened, but it felt like everything was kind of meshing very well in the second quarter. Everything was close. They would score, and then we'd come back and score. It was a really good back and forth second quarter, and it really showed, Panther City really able to fight back, even not taking the lead, but even being down the whole time. I know you saw a lot of the highlights and everything. One of the highlights, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Damoud, you can't say enough about the guy. He had an amazing save in the second quarter, and even the announcer was like, "Put that on SportsCenter, top 10 right there."
Right. Mm-hmm.
But he was playing his heart out, honestly, and he was putting on a good show. It's just, I think the biggest problem I saw, especially in that first half, was just they had a whole lot of second chances and a lot of rebounds. As the game went on through that second quarter, did you kind of feel the same way, or what did you see?
Yeah, during that middle chunk, because the 3 goals that Panther City scored really bookended kind of a middle period where Saskatchewan really took advantage of, I wouldn't call it lackadaisicalness. Maybe the ball just kind of bounced their way, but there definitely was a period of time where they couldn't get anything going. And I will say, if that second quarter was maybe 2 to 3 minutes longer, I wouldn't have been surprised if we would have gotten the chance to score again, because Patrick Dodd scored 2 goals in a row to end the half. And had we had, who knows, another minute or two, we probably could have gotten one more. And the way the
Right,
momentum
right.
was going,
Yeah, no, and I mean, gosh, Dodd's, obviously having an amazing season last year. He's honestly picked up where he left off, though. He's been a key goal scorer in each of the games. Yeah, towards the end of the second, scores two of them. I mean, it's just he's a force to be reckoned with on the offensive side. Not to be outshine rookie Gaucher. He was in there well. He had an amazing goal in the second
right?
quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, we kept it close. Like you said, if it just went on a little bit longer, because we ended down 6-5, and yeah, if it was just a little bit longer, honestly, we probably would have had it tied up.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, halftime has to happen. And it's kind of funny when they were talking about halftime. I guess they had a band out on the field, and they're like, "Yeah, it's a full concert." And sure enough, they had like a drum set guy out there and a guitar and everything. I was like, "That's pretty cool." I mean, for New
Yeah,
Year's, I mean, you got to have a little bit of fun with it.
yeah, they really party it up in Saskatchewan at box lacrosse games.
Right, right. Well, and I think I had saw on there that it had even snowed that day. So there was all like a couple feet of snow sitting outside, and so everybody was just, having a good time inside. But
Hmm.
so yeah, going into the half, down 6-5. I thought they were riding pretty well. The third quarter, it started to get a little chippy. I mean, it seemed like we would get a chance to go in and score and maybe miss something, and then there would be like a little bit of extra, chippiness
Yeah,
that goes on with it. I don't know. I mean, what would you say?
I know Brooker Moore. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I know he just recently was activated to help fill the void left by Tyler Burns' injury,
Okay.
and I loved his enthusiasm. There was a time in that third quarter where you could tell, like, oh, okay, he's getting a little. There are maybe a bit too many extracurriculars going on, and I think that's kind of how Saskatchewan kind of took the momentum back from us, because Will Malcolm was able to tie it up early on in that third. But
Hmm.
one thing Saskatchewan did really good throughout the game, but especially in that third quarter, was take advantage of those penalty miscues that we had, because they finished so many of their power plays.
Right, and I even have the stats up here on on the third quarter. I mean, up until that point, we had only it was even kill. They had three penalties. We had or three power plays. We had three power plays. But in the third quarter, I mean, we had two power plays, but we had two power plays against them, but they had three against us, and I think that's what really kind of tipped the scale to keep them alive. I mean, really keep them in the game, to be honest.
Hmm.
Because they were, pretty much in power play for half the quarter. But yeah, penalties did show up a lot in the third quarter, and I think that's honestly kind of what happened. I mean, we were able to come back and into the third. I mean, I think it was 9-8 at the end of the
Yeah,
third.
kept it close.
Kept it close. I mean, it was a hard fought game, to be honest, and hard fought games are good. You obviously want to come out on the winning side of that. As we're talking about, yeah, just penalties. I mean, I think I texted you after the game. Penalties just killed us.
Hmm. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Saskatchewan did come in with a bit more hunger, especially after blowing that huge lead against I think it was was it the Seals?
Oh yeah, against San Diego, where they were they were up ahead and beating a really good Seals team, and then yeah, San Diego came back and ended up winning in overtime. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, because as good as Damu did for us, I would say he was probably matched on the other end by Alex Bouquet. He was doing a great job for the Rush.
Now, yeah, and I mean, I'll have to look it up. I think Bouquet was the goalie for Vancouver last year, if I remember right, and he was a hard time last year even for us. So it's not surprising it was a hard time for to scoring him this year. But yeah, I mean, too many penalties. Even at the end of the game, I mean, we were only down what 10-9, and we pulled
Yeah.
Damu to
Oh,
try to get. I mean,
that
you
the
you
big
try
gamble.
to,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got to do what you got to take a risk, especially with that little time left.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it didn't pay off because that's the risk you take. You pull your goalie. You think, okay, well, at least we'll have an extra person. Which actually was that on a power play for them too.
Yeah, yeah. So Saskatchewan was on a power play. So
Yeah,
in order to make it 5-on-5 again, Damian was the necessary sacrifice. But man,
yeah.
my heart kind of sunk when I saw him trying to sprint back as fast as he could with all those heavy pads on.
I mean, and again, it goes without saying, Damoud had in my mind, I think had a great game. Unfortunately, the rest of the defense, didn't help out as much as we had hoped. And so, yeah, I mean, the end of the game, unfortunately, Panther City lost 11-9. Overall, it was like I said before, it was a hard fought game. It was fun to watch. I mean, I will say, close games are always better to watch than complete blowouts. But obviously, we wish it would have went in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
But I did say, I mean, I hate to say it, I did put this down as a possible loss this year, and so I'm not too sad about it, just because I know this gives us the opportunity to start the new year. Maybe put our best foot forward and learn from that and kind of go from that. I know the coach probably had a few choice words with the team after that about penalties.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine so.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was a fun game to watch. Obviously New Year's Eve, like I said, a lot of people watching it, but hopefully next time we can pull away with the win. Well, with that, we are going to introduce our newest segment, and I thought this would be a good proper segment, so we are calling it Mr. Andrew's Stats of the Game. Mr. Andrew, what stats do you have for this game?
Greetings, Nicholas. Subbing in for my cohort, Mr. Andy. So the first thing, and we kind of touched on this before, face-offs greatly improved from the previous 3 games, which I wasn't really expecting with losing Tyler Burton, who's a savvy veteran, really experienced. But the player that we did sign off from the practice squad, Brooker Moore, was taking the bulk of the face-offs, and he didn't finish over 50%, but it was just right at the cusp. Like, I think he went 11 for 24, whereas in the previous however many games we were usually just a little over a third winning those. And you could argue in the big scheme of things that maybe face-offs aren't super critical, but I'd say for the way that Panther City runs their offense, trying to get a lot of movement going quickly, that's a big step in the right direction. So that definitely jumped out at me. Another thing that we brought up before, constantly, is all the penalty minutes that Panther City dealt with. We basically had more than an entire quarter's worth of penalty minutes with 16. The Rush had only 10, and this was reflected in their power play opportunities. We had 4, converted half of them. The Rush had 7 and converted 5. And they had 12 more shots on goal overall. So whenever you're a man down, it's going to be that much more difficult to 1, guard your own goal, and 2, try to generate any sort of offense having a man down on the other side.
Right. Yeah, and I think I mentioned this to you as well before, but I really feel I really feel like if this game was on even kill and we had a lot more, because 5-on-5, it just seemed like we were the better team, and
Yeah.
it was those penalties and those power plays that really kind of killed us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, though credit to Saskatchewan, they did a good job of disrupting things. Yes, the penalties helped out. I know Will Malcolm and Nathan Grennan, they each had I think over 4 turnovers, which is a little higher than you would like to see for guys that initiate the offense a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
But again, credit where credit's due. Brought up Alex Bouquet again. He only allowed 9 goals off of 47 shots total, so he had a pretty good percentage. Not quite as high as Damude, but again, they took advantage.
It goes down to saying, I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, you look at turnovers and penalty minutes and stuff like that, and that all it ultimately leads to the final score the way it is. Well, with that, we're gonna go ahead and mention our cool cat plays of the game. I'll let you go first because I have a feeling of what I know what mine is, but if you take mine, then I have a backup.
Okay, that's good because I don't have a backup. I gotta go with, I want to say it was in the second quarter. Nick Damude he was taking shot after shot and doing a pretty good job fending them off. There was one that happened right after he had just deflected another one where the guy shooting was right in front of him and he basically made a diving save. It was like something out of I guess a shoot 'em up movie where you're diving to take the bullet
Right?
for your best friend or girlfriend or something. So just seeing a goalie make that sort of athletic a play to protect his goal is super impressive, and it's something that the announcers wouldn't stop talking about it either. Like that's one of the best games, one of the best saves I've seen goalie ever make.
No, yeah,
And
no,
yeah,
and it was definitely, I mean, it was definitely like a save of the year. Even like, I know this is the end of the year, but I mean, compared to anything else that happened in 2022, I mean, yeah, he deflected it, and then it like they got the rebound, and he like dove. It was just great. If you get a chance, go see it. But yeah, for me, that was one of them. My backup was Gaucher in the second quarter. He just had this crazy, amazing like goal. And he was like, again, you'd have to watch it, but like he was going between defenders and trying to get in, and he finally just pushed his way through and then made the goal. And it was a really tough fought goal. And I like when I was writing my notes down, I was like, man, that's a play of the game kind of contender, just because he was just like determined to get that goal. And again, we talked about New Year's resolutions. My whole thing was, hey, get those rookies in there, and he showed up. So I think he's going to be a big part of this team going forward, and that's good to see because it goes to show you the young people or the young guns, I guess you can call them, are really contributing to the game for sure.
absolutely. Way to go, young Bolt.
Right? Yeah, well, that's our Cool Cats play of the game. We'll talk about our Big Cat players of the game. Again, I'll let you go first because I have one in mind, but I'll have my backup as well.
Just continuing a trend, Nick Damude was my Big Cat player of the game. He helped limit a Saskatchewan offense that had scored 30 goals in their first two games to just 11. Unfortunately, the offense couldn't quite get him the help he needed to pull out the win, but he's had a very good season so far. I feel like he's improved with every subsequent game. Now, those haven't necessarily equated to wins, but as long as he can keep that consistency or even continue to get better and keep pushing that save rate to the 80s or higher even, I think we're going to have a pretty good 2023.
Yeah, I mean, again, enough can't be said about Damoud. He's been on top of things all year, even on the games that we've lost. He's done a great job. Mine, I mean, Patrick Dodds. The man came out on fire at the end of the second quarter, and he really established himself, getting 2 goals in the game. He had a great game. The other ones helping around him. But yeah, Patrick Dodds, the man cannot be denied sometimes. But yeah, so that's our Big Cat players of the game. I mean, overall, what were your final thoughts coming from this game and going forward?
It was definitely a solid performance when we were full strength. We just got to limit those silly penalties. That'll put us in the best position to take advantage of our goalie's great play. And when the 5-on-5 offense is clicking, we'll convert power plays every now and then, but I don't think that's something that you can necessarily bank on depending on how disciplined these other teams we face are going to be. So just do your best to maintain your composure. Don't do anything that would catch the ref's eye, per se.
Right. Yeah, and again, that's what I said with Coach TK. I'm sure after the game, he really sat down with them and was like, "Hey, hard fought game, but this is what we need to eliminate, and that's probably what they're going to look at all this week, going towards their next game. So I really hope it's something they can kind of come down off of. Even I there's a line between like being aggressive and wanting to prove a point and being like the bigger dog in the building, I guess.
Hmm.
And you could obviously tell that, especially in their away games. I mean, Las Vegas, they had a ton of chippiness going on there and some fights at the end. And
Yeah,
this one, the chippiness came back up, and then it ended up in all these penalties. And so it's like, all right, now we gotta find, where can we find the evenness of all that?
right.
Where can we be aggressive and be the bigger dog in the room, but not have these mistakes and not have these penalties and not have these fights and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So
It is funny you bring that up, though. So, like all things considered, was this the first game without a fight,
maybe.
or was there one last? Well,
No. Well,
I
yeah.
don't I
I'm
don't quite
trying to think of
remember if
Vegas.
there was one in Game 3.
Was there? There was in the
There,
last two
there was in
games.
the there was in the opener, and then also in Vegas near the end,
Yeah, and
and
there was a slight fight in
in
Colorado, but
Colorado.
yeah,
Okay.
but not. I mean, it wasn't anything big. Yeah. So again, hey, it's something to look forward to. No fights in this game. Unfortunately, the penalties killed us. But hey,
Mhm. Yeah, it was funny that one part where even Bouquet kind of like took a cheap shot
yeah,
out of
two
the goal.
seconds on that one. Okay. So again, I think this is the same goalie from Vancouver last year, and not only is he a very big guy, but he's very much a guy that gets in the thick of things, and that was evident last year. But yeah, no, yeah, the play is behind him, and he comes up with his stick, and
Yeah,
he's just
I'm
like
like,
whacking at the
yeah, I'm like
player.
he's not even in his goal right now, and he just
Right.
kind of just took the swing and then just kind of slowly slinked out of frame.
I'm really surprised they didn't call anything. But I guess what would you do? Call it on the
Oh
goalie, and
well,
then you'd
so
have to
so
pull the goalie.
so what they did, they called a delayed penalty on him for cross checking, but I think what teams are allowed to do at that point is put another
Ah,
active player in the box because
gotcha.
yeah, we were in the I don't think oh yeah we did because that was how Dodsey's second goal came,
Yeah,
but yeah it was just it was pretty amusing. And
it was entertaining because you didn't know what was happening, and next thing you know, you see the goalie like not even in his goal at all. But whatever.
yeah, and
Um,
he also maybe I just haven't seen enough games, but he did a sumo squat on at least a few of his saves. I'm like, oh, that's pretty effective.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think so like I said, if he was the same guy, that first home game that we had where we got unfortunately blown out last year,
Hmm.
he was the goalie, and yeah, I mean we couldn't get anything past him. That's why we couldn't even win that game. But
Gotcha.
so yeah, well, unfortunately, like I said, that game didn't turn out the way we had hoped. But next week, we go to Rochester, and we're going against the Rochester Knighthawks. Now, a little side note: Rochester is 3-0. They have not
They sure
lost.
are.
I mean, we were kind of hoping again with the new year we can kind of change that a little bit. Their two key wins so far. I mean, they took on the Georgia Swarm and beat them pretty handily. And then Toronto Rock. I mean, again, another team that a lot of people have in the playoffs and making a strong push from the East. They beat them as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how we match up to them. I mean, the Nighthawks aren't. I don't believe. I think this is our only game against them this year. Um, but yeah,
That
it's not a
sounds right.
team.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's not a team that we're going to
Hmm.
see a whole lot of unless we're in the playoffs and or in the finals. I don't know. What are your thoughts about Rochester coming into next week?
Well, I'm feeling a little glass half full. So yeah, they Rochester is 3-0. They do lead they are tied for the league lead. However, their opponents do have a combined record of 2 wins and 5 losses. So yeah, I'm hoping that it's a bit deceiving. Granted, small sample size, only some of those teams have only played 3 or 2 games themselves.
Right.
But along with that, Rochester itself hasn't played since December 17th. So I'm hoping that it'll at least take them at least one half of action in the game they're playing against Panther City to get back in the swing of things. And hopefully by that point, we'll have built a decent cushion and it'll be too late for them.
Right. And that long layoff, I mean, it can kind of take you a little while to kind of get back into things. At least we hope. The other half of that is hopefully it wasn't a long enough rest for where they're coming in completely fresh
Right.
and, can get on top of us before we even know it. Yeah, I have in my notes here, they averaged 13 goals per game so far, whereas we only averaged 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to come down to, I mean, I feel like defense is hitting a good stride right now. Well, as far as Daymud is, they really need to clean up rebounds and second shots, obviously. But I think our offense, it really started to click a little bit more in the last game, even though we lost. But I feel like it's starting to hit a better stride than we did in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope that happens going forward, especially against Rochester.
I think as we brought him up before, but as Matt Gaucher gets more and more integrated and familiar, I think him, Donville, Malcolm, the other young guys are going to really start to build chemistry. And hopefully you'll see our average goals per game go up a tick or 2.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for. So, I mean, with expectations for this game, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead out on a limb and say we're going to start off 2023 with a win against Rochester. Nice. If I was to, so that's a win. My score, So I'm going to go, we're going to stick around the average, but our defense is going to show up. So I'm going to say we're going to win 12-10. That's my guess. What's your feelings?
I think this is the first week where we are twins.
Yes.
Identical twins. I also chose a win by this score of 12-10.
12-10. Hey, if it happens, oh my gosh, then I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket and hope for the best. No, seriously though, I think this will be a good, as we talk about every week, every game is a good test to grow on the previous game. And this will be a good way to see, okay, have they started to clean up those areas a little bit more that they were lacking in? So, hopefully a win. If it is a win, that'll put us back on the winning side of things. That'll put us at 3-2. And then, I mean, again, we've talked about this long stretch. It's just one game after another from there on. I think after that game, it's Philadelphia? Oh yeah, Philadelphia. So it's not going to get any easier. We're going to hang out, going out east for a few games, but it'll be good for us to keep growing as the season goes on. Like you said, especially with those rookies coming in and making a difference. But well, awesome. Well, as I said earlier, hopefully 2023 will have a better start, a fresh start for Panther City, and we can look forward to getting back on the winning track. But thank you all once again for joining us. I am once again Nicholas.
And I am once again Andy.
And we'll see you all next time.
All right, cheers. Happy 2023.